What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name's CJ. This is Out of Bounds, and in today's video we're going to be doing another throwback for you long-time viewers here, where we're going to be looking at the NBA board over on PrizePicks today and trying to identify some good fantasy point plays for you over there, looking at overs, unders, and hopefully we can identify some solid locks for you tonight. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome to Out of Bounds. On this channel, we do everything from single-player daily fantasy sports sites like PrizePicks. We talk about NBA, fantasy points, single stat player props like points, assists, rebounds, three-pointers made. So if you're into that sort of thing, you do any sports betting or playing in DFS, definitely subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. I'm dropping videos almost daily. In fact, today's video will mark our 100th upload. This is the 100th video I've made since joining YouTube back on January 1st of this year. We're well over 800 subscribers, so I appreciate all the continued support and all the continued views and likes and all of that. Speaking of likes, let's go ahead and set a goal for today's video at, let's say, 31 likes. 31 likes, and I think I'm going to take the over on 31 likes. With over 800 of you subscribed to the channel, I think we can hit 31 or more likes, but I'm taking the over on 31. All right, so without further ado, let's talk about some injury news, some potential players that might be in or out for tonight's NBA slate that could impact different lineups and how we approach today's PrizePicks board. So first one here is Gary Harris. My Orlando Magic are finally going to get their first look at Gary Harris in an Orlando Magic uniform. Looks like his adductor injury is behind him, and he'll be joining the lineup here and probably have a pretty significant role in the rotation, I would imagine. Moving on from that, not looking like a ton of news here. Kyra Lewis, calf, questionable for the Pelicans on Friday. Not very big news there. Gorgie Jang, shoulder, questionable for the Spurs on Friday night. Otto Porter, foot, listed out for the Magic. So Otto Porter's out. Gary Harris is in. It looks like Lonnie Walker, wrist, is going to be questionable for the Spurs on Friday. Big one here, Bradley Beal, hip, probable for the Wizards on Friday night. So we should see Bradley Beal suit up for this Washington Wizards team. Otherwise, doesn't look like there's a ton of other news to talk about right now. Most of this stuff was from Thursday, so there you have it. Short and sweet with the news segment. All right, so the whole basis of today's video is we're going to go position by position: point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center, and it's all going to be focused around DVP rank. And the reason we use DVP is it's defense versus position, so we're looking for a high number here for any of the players that we're talking about. If it's in the green, that means it's a good DVP, a good matchup, which means if we're looking to take overs on any of the players that we discuss, that this could potentially be a good spot to take an over on, with the DVP being favorable. So with that in mind, let's go position by position. The first guy we've got up here is Steph Curry. Let's see if they've got Steph Curry uploaded to the board. They do. He's at 49 fantasy points. 49 fantasy points. They've got him at 46.8. We are on NumberFire, by the way. NumberFire, free projections for both fantasy points and for single stat. So if you're into playing fantasy points on PrizePicks, single stat on PrizePicks, or any of the sports betting websites, NumberFire.com, a totally free and pretty reliable resource, in my opinion. So you can reference them. So NumberFire's got Steph Curry at 46.8. That would put him under by a couple of points. Let's look at the game totals and the spread on this one as well. So up here at the top, they make it nice and easy for you. They give you this little handy dandy toolbar. You can just kind of scroll across here. And Steph Curry is facing the Washington Wizards tonight. This game tips off at 10:10 p.m., so it's one of the late games, but this one should be fun. Looking at the game totals here, it's implied that these teams will combine to score almost 240 points, a massive, massive total. Not only that, but the over on Steph Curry makes a lot of sense, A, because of the matchup, and B, because the spread is just 4.5 points, meaning the game should stay close and competitive. And we know the Washington Wizards, anytime you play a player against the Wizards, they usually get an uptick in just overall total stats. So fantasy points or real life points, rebounds, assists. More 3-pointers will probably be made in this matchup. So I'm liking everything about this game in terms of targeting some overs here. Now, despite the fact that Number Fire has Steph Curry projected under, I'm kind of just ignoring that because I think that this is a game where Curry could really go over 49. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at Steph Curry and go to his recent game logs and see how he's been performing. And the way that we do that is we click on this little daily fantasy button. We can scroll down here and you can see that if we scroll to the side, you got FP, which stands for fantasy points. How many FanDuel fantasy points? And of course, we use FanDuel as a resource, as a reliable thing to compare against because FanDuel scoring is the same as PrizePicks scoring, so scoring systems are the same, so we can definitely rely on these numbers. So we go back 5 games, you can see against Houston, 37 points, not good enough for 49. Now he hits 49 right on the head here against Chicago, so that would be a push. 50.7 puts him over 49, 47 putting under 49, and then finally 50.2 against Milwaukee in his last one. So all in all, it's been kind of a mixed bag here for Steph Curry in his last 5 games. He's got 1 under, 1 push, 1 over, 1 under, and another over. So 2 overs, 2 unders, and 1 push. So 2, and 1, kind of crazy. So yeah, that's the way it's looking for Steph Curry. They've got him projected to go under on Number Fire. I'm liking the over though in this situation. So there you have it for him. So let's go back here and look at the next potential player and see what we like here. Again, we're going back to DVP. Let's see who they have here. Malcolm Brogdon, he's a game time decision. Not going to discuss him. How about Ben Simmons? Let's see if Ben Simmons is up on the board. Yeah, they got Ben Simmons up at 39 fantasy points over on PrizePicks. Ben Simmons is projected for 38.4. So that 38 to 39 point window looks like a pretty reliable way to go here. Now he's facing the New Orleans Pelicans. This game tips off at 8:10 p.m. Let's take a look at the game totals and the spread here and get a better feel for how this game might play out. All right, so you can see the game total is 228 points. Not a bad total. It's right up there around 230, which is a good sweet spot if you're looking to take any overs on any of these players. Of course, Joel Embiid, now healthy. He's back in the lineup for the Philadelphia 76ers. And it looks like New Orleans is going to be a 6.5 point underdog at home. So can't put this in the green in terms of spread. I would say that in terms of blowout potential here, got to probably put it in the yellow to orange range, as this spread is kind of worrisome, but I do expect New Orleans, if everybody's completely healthy, meaning Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, and so on, to stay close and competitive in this one. So it's not a complete fade for me. It's just a proceed with caution. We'll call it that. All right, so with that in mind, we will look more into Ben Simmons here. He, again, is projected as a slight under versus PrizePicks. But if we click his name, head over to the daily fantasy button or tab, whatever you want to call it. We'll scroll on over to the right. We'll go down to his last 5 games and look at those. Denver, 20.9 fantasy points, way under 39. So not a good look there for Ben Simmons. 29.1, again, way under 39 there. 37.6 under, 26.4 under, and 32.8 under. That is 5 games in a row where he has went under 39 fantasy points. So they've got him projected to go under 39, does Number Fire. His last 5 game logs look like they are all under, so I would probably say lean toward the under in this situation. Ben Simmons has not been playing very good basketball lately, and with Joel Embiid back, I mean, the usage is going to be sucked away from Ben Simmons and be absorbed by Joel Embiid. So there you have it. Ben Simmons looking like an under. All right, let's move on to shooting guard and take a look and see if there's any plays there that are standing out. Of course, we're just looking to target overs in this video, so we're going to look at the best DVP matchups here. We've got Karis LeVert at the top of the list here. He's facing off against my Orlando Magic tonight. Let's see if he's up on the PrizePicks board. He would be a good one to discuss if he is. And for whatever reason, they don't have him up. I'm guessing it's because we're on a wait and see with the Malcolm Brogdon injury news. So in this case, we will skip over that. How about Paul George? Is he up on the board? He's got a pretty good matchup tonight. Of course, they just played last night, and they do have him up. He's up at 43 fantasy points, according to PrizePicks. Now, if we compare that to where he's at on Numberfire quite a bit lower here at 39.4. So you're talking about a 3-point or more difference, almost 4-point difference here. So they like the under on Paul George despite the matchup here. Let's look at the game totals real quick, because that could be a little bit of a telltale sign of why they might be going under on Paul George. Maybe it's projected to be a blowout and they don't expect him to play a full run of minutes. All right, and yes, that is exactly the case. 222.5 points, not a super high total for this game, but the big thing that stands out to me is the 12-point spread. The Los Angeles Clippers are 12-point home favorites against this pretty pitiful Houston Rockets team. So yes, the blowout is definitely in effect here. Got to give this one a red in terms of how likely it is to blow out. Yeah, high probability of a blowout here. So I can understand why maybe going under on Paul George on this 43 number makes some sense. If you're looking to take the over on Paul George on 43, you've got to hope that he's the big reason why that this game blows out, which, you know, I don't really like to do that. So here we go. Let's move on over and look at his last 5 games. And this dude has been on a heater lately. If you look at his last 5 against Philly, 57.3, a massive over on tonight's 43 projection. 32.1 puts him way under. So big one. And then a game where he goes way under. Another under game here, 29.9, fails to even hit 30 fantasy points. But look at him bouncing back in a big way, 50.1 against Portland and at 50.9 against Phoenix. So all in all, just to summarize for you guys, keeping score at home, that's 1, 2, 3 overs and 2 unders. I'll say 3 massive overs and 2 massive unders. So a little bit of instability, I would say, with Paul George. Don't know what you're going to get. But for the most part, I think this is a good spot for Paul George in terms of the matchup. It's just a question of how long will he be in the game for. This game is projected to be a huge blowout. I just don't trust it. If anything, I'm taking the under, but more than likely, I'm just not going to go here at all. I mean, this is a potential fade for me, but you guys, if you feel better about it than I do, then definitely, lock Paul George in, but I would probably lean toward the under if I play it at all. So there you go for Paul George. Now let's take a look at the next guy on our DVP list here and see who stands out. They got Seth Curry at shooting guard. I think he's a point guard listed on PrizePicks, but he's not up on the board, so it doesn't really matter. How about Marcus Smart? He's not up on the board either. All right. Andrew Wiggins, 23rd matchup here in terms of DVP. All right, let's do it. Let's talk the Canadian Andrew Wiggins. Golden State Warriors, as I mentioned, against the Washington Wizards. High-scoring game, good totals, good spread. So I think that the matchup here also looks very good for Andrew Wiggins. Washington ranks just 23rd against opposing shooting guards in this one. So let's go ahead and dig into Andrew Wiggins' recent game logs and see how he's been performing. We scroll on down the line here. We scroll on down and over. All right, and you can see in his last 5, he's actually got some pretty stellar game logs here. So back against Chicago here, he drops 38.1. That puts him well over 33, pretty easy. 47.6, and even bigger performance there, puts him well over 33. Then he goes under, big time. Slightly misses the 33 here, gets Atlanta with 31, and then 28.8 against Milwaukee in his last game. So in his last 5, you got 1, 2 overs and 3 unders. So he's been going under more than over. So although the matchup is good here, he is projected to probably go under, and that's the way that I would lean on Andrew Wiggins. They got him projected at 31.4 in this one. So there you have it for Andrew Wiggins. Now, with him in the books, we can move on to the next position. We'll look at a couple of good potential overplays here at small forward. So let's look at these matchups here. We'll head on over to the DVP column and sort for the best matchups. Keldon Johnson. Do we have Keldon Johnson up on the board? We do not. We've got DeRozan, DeJounte Murray, and Jacob Poeltl for the San Antonio Spurs. No Keldon Johnson. How about Chris Middleton? Chris Middleton, he's got to be up here, right? He's got to be up here. Not seeing him. Not seeing him. Maybe they're waiting to post Milwaukee Bucks for, the Giannis Antetokounmpo news. Justin Holiday, Caleb Martin. How about Jaylen Brown? Jaylen Brown's got to be up here. I think I just saw him. There we go. Let's talk Jaylen Brown. The Minnesota Timberwolves, they rank 23rd in the league against opposing small forwards. Jaylen Brown projected for 40 on PrizePicks. If you look at where he's at on Number Fire, 38.6 fantasy points. So he's looking like a good matchup, but still projected to go under here. Let's open up Jaylen Brown's recent game logs and take a look and see what he's been doing. So we scroll on down and we scroll on over. And then you can see in his last 5 games, he's got some pretty good ones in there, but he's also got some pretty bad ones. It's been a mixed bag here for Jaylen Brown. On tonight's projection of 40, he's got an under against Dallas, 39.3, close but no cigar. 43.2 puts him over by a few points, 27.7, 20.6, 2 unders, and then he bounces back against the New York Knicks with 55, double nickel. He breaks that 50-point barrier. Huge game there. So all in all, 1 over, 2 overs, and that's it. Just 2 overs and 3 unders in his last 5 games. Not looking too hot here for Jaylen Brown, despite the matchup. So if you're leaning on one way or the other, man, I don't know. I mean, the totals are pretty good, 228 points, but the spread is 8.5. This game looks like it could blow out. So I'd be a little cautious with taking any kind of overs on Jaylen Brown unless you just think that he's going to be a big factor, a big reason why they go over or why they blow out Minnesota, I should say. All right, so there you have it for Jaylen Brown. Let's talk about the next guy. Got one more small forward to discuss. How about Rui Hachimura? He looks like he's in a very good matchup, and we already know that this game is going to be one that we want to target overs anyway because of the high totals and spread. Rui's at 28 on PrizePicks today. If we take a look at him over here on Number Fire, he is at 27.2, so pretty close. 27 to 28 point range seems pretty appropriate based on the way things are looking here for Rui Hachimura. Already mentioned high game totals, close spread. No need to rehash that. This will definitely be one of the most high scoring games and be a big boon for anybody in terms of fantasy points, real life points, assists, rebounds, 3-pointers made, you name it. Whatever you want to play, this is the game to play some overs on. We scroll down here and look at his last 5 games, and you can see against Detroit, 21.2, not a very good game whatsoever. He goes under there, comes back with 2 very good games, at least for him, 37, and then another one here with 37. So over, then he goes under, and then finally another under to wrap up his last 5 games. So all in all, he's got 2 big overs with 3 unders mixed in. Now, as long as Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook are in the lineup, Rui Hachimura is nothing more than a third option, the third wheel here. Most of the usage is going to go to Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. That's just the way that it is. Rui Hachimura, he'll be there collecting the crumbs, unfortunately. So they like him to go under. I think that could be a good way to go, especially if Bradley Beal is cleared to play like he's supposed to with that hip injury. So there you have it. Rui Hachimura. Now that we've talked a couple small forwards, let's go ahead and move it over to the bigger of the 2 forward positions. I'm talking power forward. And at power forward, we do have some good looking matchups here. Bertans is obviously one way we can go, but he's not up on the PrizePicks board. They've got Denny. We'll just call him Denny. Giannis Antetokounmpo, I don't believe he's up on the board yet because he is considered to be a game time decision as of right now. So no Giannis Antetokounmpo up on the board just yet. Chuma Okeke. Chuma is not on the board for Orlando either. That's going to be a situation for me, by the way, Orlando Magic to fade because they've got so many new faces there on that roster. They got so many different moving parts. As I mentioned, Otto Porter out. Gary Harris is in. You got Cole Anthony who just returned. You've got Kim Birch who has now been cut or released, I should say, by the Orlando Magic. So that means more minutes open up for both Wendell Carter Jr., Mo Bamba. So this thing is a mess. They're still trying to evaluate their young talent, figure out some rotations, both for the rest of the season and the future. So I'm not touching anybody from Orlando. Just had to get my rant out on that one. But here's a guy that is on the board, and that's Jason Tatum, Boston Celtics swingman. He is projected for 45 fantasy points over on PrizePicks. They've got him at 42.3 over on NumberFire. So if you look at Jason Tatum's game situation here, we've already talked about the totals being pretty good at 228, but the spread being worrisome at 8.5. Got to put that one in the orange and probably even closer to the red zone for me in terms of high blowout potential, high blowout risk. So I can understand why taking the under on a guy like Jason Tatum might be the way to go. Now, what you could do if you do like the matchup for Jason Tatum is target him in a first half only format, because you can't get blown out or benched early, we should say, in the first half unless you're just in foul trouble or you get hurt or something like that. But going first half only on a guy like Jason Tatum and potentially taking the over could definitely be a way to go if you don't trust a full game. There's been so many blowouts in the NBA recently. I can understand why you might be a little gun shy. Now, looking at his last 5 game logs, it looks like the unders have been hitting for Jason Tatum. Against Dallas, 46.3. Not bad there. He barely goes over 45, but then he's got a run of 4 games where he doesn't even come close to 45. Got 35, 37, 30, and 39 in his last 4 games. So 4 in a row where he's went under and hasn't really even come close to sniffing more than 45 fantasy points. So all in all, 4 unders to just 1 over in his last 5 game logs. So with the totals being what they are, they're good, not great. With the spread being what it is, it looks like a potential blowout. You're going to have to hope, if you play Jason Tatum over in a full game format, that he is the driving factor, the main reason, or one of the main reasons why they blow out the Minnesota Timberwolves, I should say. All right. So there you have it for Jason Tatum. Let's talk one more power forward, or at least somebody who's listed as a power forward. And let's go Draymond Green, because he's got a pretty good matchup here on paper. Of course, Draymond, not a big real life actual point scorer, but he does a lot of the other stuff, the rebounds, the assists, and those all add up to big fantasy performances real quick for a guy like Draymond Green. Now, he's projected at 35 fantasy points today. Again, taking on Washington. You're noticing that a lot of the names that I'm talking about are from a lot of the same games. Minnesota, Boston, pretty high totals. Washington, Golden State, high totals. This is another one where Draymond is in a high total, close spread game and is in a pretty soft matchup here. And he's projected at 35 over on PrizePicks. They got him at 33.4 on NumberFire. So NumberFire looking like they like to go under on Draymond Green, but we're not going to stop there. We're going to dig in a little bit deeper here and look at Draymond and how he's been performing in his last 5 games. So scroll down, scroll over, you know the drill. And then we go back to his 5th game in his game log against Atlanta, 11.9 fantasy points, not even close to coming toward 35 fantasy points. So that's a big time under. 33.5, he barely misses the 35 there. 48, big game there. He goes over by quite a bit. 43.9, he goes over by quite a bit there as well. And then in his last game against Milwaukee, not a very good one, just 25 fantasy points. So all in all, his last 5 games, he's got 2 overs, 3 unders actually. 2 overs and just 3 unders. So yeah, kind of hard to trust Draymond Green with that game log looking like it is. But if you ever needed a stimulus or a boost to your fantasy performances or your real life single stats, man, playing the Washington Wizards will get you that. So definitely keep that in mind with Draymond Green. I don't know that I necessarily buy into the under on his fantasy points today. All right, that just leaves one last position, and we're going to the big men. That's right, the center position. So we head to center. We go to the DVP column, and we sort it to get the very best matchups up at the top here. And you can see we've got Clint Capella. I don't know if Clint Capella is going to be up on the board. Yeah, they actually do have him up on the board. So he's considered a game time decision according to NumberFire, but they've got him up on the board on PrizePicks nonetheless. 42 fantasy points is his projection, going up against the Chicago Bulls, probably facing Nikola Vucevic in this one. So 42, and he's projected at 41.6 over on Number Fire. So great matchup here for him, but I will caution you just a little bit. This DVP rank was mostly due to all the players that played the center position for the Chicago Bulls prior to Nikola Vucevic. Now, I'm not saying that we should fear Nikola Vucevic in terms of being a defender or anything like that. He's definitely not that. He's more of a score-first, versatile type of big man. He's not a defender. But I just want to point out that, you know, Wendell Carter Jr. and Daniel Gafford and whoever else was on the team defending the center position did a terrible job prior to Nikola Vucevic getting there. And that's part of the reason why you've got a 30th rank here for the Chicago Bulls in terms of DVP. But I digress. 41 to 42 points, looking like a realistic outcome here for Clint Capella. Let's dig into his game logs and see how he's been playing, because I know for a fact that he has been a monster on the glass, and that's where he makes a lot of his fantasy points up. Not really scoring the ball at a high rate. He's going to be on there rebounding, though, blocking shots, and making an impact in that way. So let's look at his last 5. Against Phoenix, 38.2. He falls short of 42. That's an under. 63 puts him way, way over 42. 48, that's a pretty healthy over as well. 53.6 puts him way over 42 as well. And then 35.9, not a very good performance there. He falls pretty short there of 42 fantasy points. But as you can see, he's got some bangers in there. In his last 5 games, got 3 overs and just 2 unders. So loving the matchup here for Clint Capella. Hopefully he is healthy and ready to play. If he is, I don't mind taking the over here and potentially, going over and with the matchup against Nikola Vucevic. I think that makes a lot of sense here for Clint Capella. I just wanted to look at the game totals because I forgot to do that. 228.5 points. Yeah, that's a thumbs up for me. That's a pretty darn good total, and the spread's just 1.5. So if Capella plays, he should get a full run of minutes here in a good matchup. I like the over more than I do the under on Capella. He's just been playing pretty good basketball in his last 5 games. So there you have it for him. Let's talk one last center. We'll wrap this video up and have you on your way. The next center we're going to talk about, let's see if he's up on the board here. Robert Williams. Yes, he is. So Robert Williams, Boston Celtics, big man. He is projected for 34 fantasy points over on PrizePicks. And they got him at 36.3 over on Number Fire. Now, I will tell you that the other night, I think I took an under on Robert Williams, and it ended up working out for me just fine. But tonight, it looks like Number Fire likes a slight over on him at 36.3. Now, he's facing Minnesota. We've already discussed this game a couple of times. 228 implied points, 8.5 point spread. So I could see why taking an under on Robert Williams could be the way to go. Or, hey, sometimes you walk away from a situation if it doesn't feel like a good one. But let's look at his last 5 game logs and see how he's been performing on this 34-point projection. So in his last 5, you got New Orleans here, 33.5. He falls just short of 34. That puts him under. Now, he has a huge game against Houston. 51.8, a massive, massive over. 37.6, that's another over. 16-3 and 23, 2 big-time unders. So in his last 5 games, he's got a total of 3 unders with just 2 overs in his game log. So the under has been working out more often than the over. So with the game being a potential blowout at 8.5 points and Robert Williams not playing so well in his last 5 games, I'm probably going to favor taking the under on Robert Williams and this 34 fantasy point projection. But you guys, let me know what you think. Who are you liking from today's video? Are there any point guards, shooting guards, small forwards, power forwards, or centers that are standing out to you? Let me know down in the comments section below. Again, our goal is to go over 31 likes. I think we can do it with all of your support. And I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on so you don't miss any of my future content. Thanks for tuning in, guys. My name's CJ. This is Out of Bounds. We'll catch you in the next one. Good luck tonight over on PrizePicks. Peace out.